Welcome to the Ready Room Podcast by TBR Gunworks. I am Josh.
And I am Carolyn.
And we are your hosts. Today we are asking a very complicated yet simple question. Are guns/firearms political? The answer might surprise you. All right. So to those who are joining on the live stream, thank you so much for your patience. We are quite late. There was an incident with food and an online delivery service that is just the worst. So, are guns political? It's the topic of today's questions. You might be surprised by the answer, but it won't be surprising. Like, you're going to be surprised at the delivery of the answer. Maybe. Maybe not. First of all, if you're listening on podcast sites anywhere pods are cast, except for Pandora, screw you, Pandora, please leave a review. My voice did a weird thing there. I don't like it. I wish I could go back and delete
Puberty.
that. It's too bad. Reviews are the number one way to help out a podcast that you like. So if you enjoy our content and you listen to it on a regular basis, we would really, really appreciate it if you could go to whatever site you listen on and leave a review, if it's possible. I know Spotify doesn't let you do it for some stupid reason.
I think most don't let you do it.
No, actually, a lot of them do. Like
really?
Amazon and Google, I found ways to do it there. Apple for sure, but not Spotify. I don't know if it's like a purposeful thing Spotify's doing or if they don't want to let that happen because they don't like people. No assumptions here. If you're listening on or watching on YouTube, we would greatly appreciate a subscription, liking the video if you enjoyed it, and leaving a comment with any of your own thoughts. Tell us, do you think guns are political? And if you disagree with us or if you agree with us but have a different logical argument for that, go ahead and drop it in the comment section. We would really appreciate it and we'd love to read it, helping boost engagement and help build this community, guys. We really, really want to get to know everyone, the regulars especially. We have a few regulars that actually talk to us in Discord more than on the comment section. But we really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for helping us surpass 100 downloads on podcast sites.
Yes.
YouTube is obviously a lot slower, and we are only putting out the podcast episodes so far on YouTube. We are working on other videos, but equipment is lacking, let's say. Money is lacking, so therefore equipment is lacking. We're doing our best. I will figure something out for you guys. Carolyn, what is your if I had to ask you yes or no, or maybe like a one-sentence answer, are firearms political? What would your answer be?
They shouldn't be, but they are.
Is literally almost word for word what I was going to say.
Well,
My answer was just going to be yes.
that was my original
Pause for dramatic
answer.
effect. But they shouldn't be.
Uh-huh. So I just flipped it around.
You flipped it around on me. But I mean, I'm 100% with you. I think that every single American should be in unison about the ownership of firearms, the place in our society. But unfortunately, it's the exact opposite, and it's more of a dividing line.
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, any other self-defense weapon isn't political, you know?
That's not true.
I mean, knives.
Katanas.
Okay.
I would say that's a self-defense weapon.
A small concealable self-defense weapon.
Some states you can't conceal a knife shorter than 2 inches.
Shorter
Some
than
cities.
2 inches?
Yes. Or maybe you might be right. It might be larger than 2 inches. I might be misremembering. I think South Carolina has a 4-inch maximum size for concealed knives.
I mean, it's different. Them having like state laws or local laws
Mm-hmm.
is different than like it being a political conversation. Like, because people, like, if you buy a knife to carry on you, people aren't going to be like, oh my God, you carry a knife?
Mm-hmm. Well, laws are a political thing.
Yeah, but
Legislators?
it's not a big political discussion with knives or like pepper spray or those little keychain cat ear things, you know?
So you, by that logic, you don't think that New York City and their
New
gun
York
laws
City-
are a political thing?
Well, yeah.
That's a state. That's a city law.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, if somebody says that they carry a knife, there's not an extreme reaction to that.
Yeah, you're right.
They just carry a knife.
You're 100% right.
Just wanted to argue.
It is weird though that, like, I mean, I'll pull a knife out sometimes when people are like, anybody got a knife? And I pull it out and they're like,
Yeah.
why do you have a knife? Like, first of all, you asked for one. Second of all, why don't you have a knife?
Yeah.
That's the better question, right? And that kind of applies if you think about it, like the way we're raised in different areas, right? I was raised to always have a knife of some kind on me because it's a tool.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just for self-defense. It was always for a tool. And I beat the crap out of my knives, guys. I use them every day and in ways they shouldn't be used. Like tool-wise. I'll use things to pry. I don't care. I'll use them as hammers.
Use a screwdriver.
Use a screwdriver. I've broken enough knife tips to have a bunch of flatheads laying around.
Yep.
I'm rough on my tools. Everything I get, I use. You know what I mean? And even when I was in the Army, walking around with
especially when you were in the Army.
yeah, that was interesting. When I was in the Army, I was around a lot of people that weren't from the South, and so a wide variety of dudes who were raised completely different ways. Now, all pretty good dudes, but none of them, except for like one, maybe two other guys in my company, carried a knife on a regular basis, and it blew my mind. I was like, of all people, I thought this would be
the infantry dudes.
Yeah. But I mean, whenever anyone needed a knife to cut, let's say 550 cord, or heck, even the little wire seals on cans and stuff like that, they would be like, hey, come give me your knife. I'm like, why don't you get your own knife?
Yeah.
Sarnt.
But it's never like oh my God, why do you have a knife?
No.
It's just kind of like, why do you have a knife, dude?
Yeah, why do you always have a knife?
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't you always have a knife?
Yeah.
And this is that dividing factor right there. There's a little bit of a thought process there, and what do you call it? It's something that's not in your mind all the time, or not in your peripheral. Like it's just you never think about it till you need it, right?
Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. Most people who don't carry knives, they don't even understand why not carrying a knife is weird, right? Just like most people who carry a gun or a knife every day don't understand why it's controversial to carry one of those two things every day. So yes, in the quick, this is why I said it would surprise you. The easy answer, if you just want to go, man, that was a good answer, yes, then you're pretty much done for the rest of the episode. But like,
so good talk.
So good talk.
We enjoyed having you.
Yeah, we appreciate it. But we're gonna go into why and some examples about it. Hopefully, my wife's stomach will stop being super loud.
I'm sorry, I just ate.
She did just eat, so she's actually really happy. This is the peak of her happiness, guys. You'll never see her more happy than right now.
No,
she just ate.
I just ate.
She's pregnant and she is satiated with food. But the reason that it's so easy to say that firearms are a political talking point, or they're political in general, is because you cannot talk about firearms, own firearms, or be in the firearms industry without implicitly making a political statement. Like if you're talking about firearms 99 times out of 10, and yes, I meant what I said, you're taking a stance one way or the other most of the time, right? Either you're talking about firearms in a positive light where you like them, or you are talking about one you want to buy, or you're talking about the dumb gun laws, or whatever. You're taking a political stand, basically. And then if you're doing the opposite, where you're talking about how bad guns are and how we need to get rid of guns out of citizens' hands and this, that, and the other, well, you're taking a political stance. If you work in the firearms industry, you're taking a political stance. Because you are not only being supported by, but you're also supporting the firearms industry. And if you own firearms, you're just, I don't even think it's half. I think it's less than half. But to a large portion of the country, you're just the devil, right? You are inherently being political if you're in the firearms world whatsoever. And this is something I only wanted to bring up because there are gun companies, gun channels, gun news / magazine companies / people that like to tout as if it's like a bragging thing. We only do the gun thing. We don't do politics. And it's like, yes, you do.
Yeah.
The guns are the politics.
Yeah.
Right? Like just because you don't talk about a specific senator or House representative or a specific gun law being introduced doesn't mean you're not talking politics. So in fact, you're trying to pretend you're not talking politics whilst talking politics.
Yeah. They're just saying they're not directly talking about specific policies.
Yep.
And or people.
Yep. And I don't want to throw hate at anyone, but one of the biggest gun YouTube channels, and it's not only a gun YouTube channel, I'm just going to leave it there. Their slogan is basically that. And it's like, I don't understand that. Like, if you're going to go to all these shows, you're going to go talk to all these industry leaders, you're going to do all these reviews on guns. But hey, politics isn't our thing. It is your thing.
Yeah.
Like, it is. But it's like, it's almost like they're just too scared to say it.
They just don't want to ruffle any feathers.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's so heavily wound into the industry that, I mean, it's...
But I don't get the whole I don't want to ruffle feathers thing when you're eventually going to be targeted.
Yeah.
Eventually. Like, even if you do ruffle, even if you actively ruffle no feathers whatsoever, you will actively eventually be targeted for your even
just
owning guns.
Delay it as long as possible. That way...
It's cowardice.
Yeah.
It's cowardice.
But, I mean, if that's their livelihood, they're going to delay being targeted as long as possible. You know?
I don't like that. I don't like it. I think it's cowardly.
I'm sure that's what their thought process is, though. I can't talk.
No, I can't either. We both ate. We're slowing down now, but no, I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's justifiable.
No, I agree.
It's just cowardly, and you're just like, I'm going to let them talk about everyone else and take them down first, and I'm the last one standing. But then who's going to side with you, dude, when you get targeted? Who's going to stand with you when you're over there the whole time you're talking about, I don't talk about that stuff. Well, when they eventually come for you, no one's going to stand with you. Right? And it's that old saying, when they finally came for me, there was no one else to stand with me because I sat around and did nothing while they went for everyone else. That's obviously a paraphrased version, but I mean, I don't like the cowardly position of just not.
Because, I mean, like, you want to inform, especially if you're a big channel, like, you want to keep people informed.
Oh, and they're completely okay with informing you on what guns are coming out.
Yeah.
Or...
but not laws that are getting passed.
What are our top 5 guns of the year? Like, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And, like, lawsuits that GOA has been in for however long.
Yeah. I do like seeing GOA reach out to other big YouTubers who are not scared to take a hard and firm stance. I really like seeing that. GOA, guys, is really, really good. They do a lot more work from what I can tell.
They're what the NRA claims to be.
Yeah, they're what the NRA should be. They are actively and aggressively fighting anti-gun laws and arrests and all this stuff across the country. They're doing the Lord's work for real. Speaking of the Lord's work, that kind of reminds me. It's like I know a lot of Christians that'll say the exact same thing. I just care about the gospel, not politics. And it's like, guess what? Not only is Christianity now a political stance as well, it's also in the Bible. Jesus rebuked political figures and told them why they were wrong about the things they were doing and being hypocrites. Like, these are things that are in there, but it's just, once again, it's the lazy way out. It's the wanting to not upset anyone when you're...
Upset anyone or themselves.
That's not how you live.
Yeah.
You literally can't get through life without upsetting anyone. It's not possible. So I can't do it, man. So we're going to talk about a few things that are big examples of firearms becoming not only political stances, or what would you call it?
Conversation?
Not a conversation. There's like political like stances. There's political. I'm thinking of like not scandal. Incidences. Let's go with that. Yeah, not scandals. So some of you who are listening may or may not know, if you're one of the, that's actually, while I'm talking about it, if you're any of the other people listening to the podcast outside of the country, in other countries, hey, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening to this American talk. If you're unaware of what the National Firearms Act is, or if you're an American who doesn't know either, okay, I understand. The National Firearms Act, the NFA, is a set of bullcrap restrictions on firearms and attachments. An example of one would be suppressors. That's an attachment that is restricted and regulated under the NFA. You can't own a suppressor without owning a tax stamp to go along with that suppressor, which takes $200 tax plus a minimum like 8-month to a 1.5 year waiting period, right? Because the ATF sucks at their job. Another example would be short-barreled rifles or short-barreled shotguns, right? This this it has something to do with overall length, but it's also barrel length. For rifles, it's any barrel length under 16 inches, right? So if I have an AR-15 and I yank the 16-inch barrel off and put on a 14.5-inch barrel, well, I have just committed a felony under the NFA, which is nonsense. Clearly, anyone who can think logically knows that I didn't make that firearm any more dangerous than if it was a 16-inch barrel.
If anything, you made it less accurate.
I mean, it hurts, man. But the NFA wasn't even enacted until 1934. So before 1934, all this stuff was legal. Automatic weapons was not, restricted. Short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns. I mean, stocks on pistols, which is, once again, they call that a rifle. I mean, it's all this stuff was legal up until 1934. And
NFA's definitions for stuff
is the most nonsensical
nonsense.
thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
But the NFA was put into place because of politics and fear. Fear created by politics.
The media.
The media. Now, I'll give people credit that one of the things people were upset about was the mafia mob killings, right? That was happening most often with full auto submachine guns, stuff like that. So to try to curb this, they decided to make it more illegal to kill someone.
Because, the mafia follows the laws.
Yeah. Guys, doesn't it make sense that if someone's going to go commit a murder, that they're going to not use a full auto because that's illegal? They'll use a semi-auto.
Yeah, because legal.
That's what murderers do,
They're
right?
law-abiding murderers.
Yeah, they're law-abiding murderers, guys. So they made all these things crimes to try to curtail this, which obviously made, no sense whatsoever. And how do I phrase this properly? I got to figure out how to phrase this the right way because we are online. The government,
ruffle feathers, right?
The government wanted to remove handguns from civilians. This is part of the NFA. This is part of the reason they put the NFA in. They wanted to get concealable handguns away from the average citizen by putting a $200 tax stamp on it, which, if you can imagine, in the 1930s was a buttload of money.
Yeah.
A buttload of money, guys. So they want to get rid of handguns. They also included, they're like, well, if we're going to get rid of handguns, we have to get rid of, also do the shortened barreled other weapons. So short barreled shotguns, short barreled rifles, right? That way, they could still get this approved and it would cover a large variety
It's
of
a loophole.
what they consider concealable weapons.
Yeah,
right?
they're making it's still legal, but they're just making it harder to get.
It's only legal for the rich, basically.
Exactly.
So what ended up happening was they said, you'll never get this passed if you get rid of handguns, which is how people would defend themselves. So they passed the entire thing, and they left in the bull crap about short-barreled rifles and short-barreled shotguns that was only there to go along with the handgun ban.
Right.
So they put it in there to get rid of handguns. Handguns gets removed from the NFA, and they keep the short-barreled shotgun, short-barreled rifle nonsense. Okay.
Like my AR pistol is roughly the size of an AR.
It's crazy. It's almost like it's an AR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a pistol.
Yeah. Because it's got a pistol brace.
Yeah. But it's roughly the size of an AR.
Roughly. So this was legislation. Excuse me. This was legislation and regulation that went into effect because of fear and politics. Because political figures needed to make a difference.
They just fearmonger until they get what they want.
Yes. And it's also a war on the lower class because it was still legal to do if you had lots of money. And it was easy. But see, they didn't adjust for inflation, and now $200 is $200 and not equivalent to like $50,000 or whatever it was back then. So now, I mean, people, more suppressor owners than ever right now in 2021. Yeah. I mean, it's suppressor owners, short-barreled shotgun rifles, or short-barreled rifles owners. I mean, it's just an annoyance now.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it's still illegal, in my opinion. Shall not be infringed means shall not be limited, regulated, etc. And this is all an infringement. But at this point, it's not impossible for you to do. It just takes $200 extra on top of whatever you're buying, and then a waiting period, which is just.
And I mean, if you're spending that much money on suppressor, $200 is not.
It is to me that there have been times.
Okay, yeah, but like people who have the money to just drop on a suppressor.
Well, there have been times I had the
ton.
money to pay for the suppressor and tax, but not an additional tax stamp.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I can either fork over an extra $200 I'll have to dig up for, and then wait a year, or I can just take what I've got now and leave the store with something in my hands. You know what I mean? So there's been 3 separate times I went to go purchase a suppressor and came home with a gun instead.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm stupid and I'm impatient, you know. But I mean, the NFA is absolute nonsense, led by politics, okay? It also, I don't want to just insult the side of the political aisle or whatever, because I'm not exactly on just one side.
Yeah.
I don't want to just insult them, but I don't get logic. I don't get the logic of wanting to ban firearms.
We can insult both sides.
Yeah, we can. Conservatives are obviously not doing anywhere near enough
No.
to defend the Second Amendment, and in fact, they never really have. Reagan did a lot of damage to the Second Amendment. The NRA has always done damage to the Second Amendment by compromising every chance they get. But the ones that are trying to remove guns, and I mean the citizens, not the government officials, they know exactly what they're doing. They're not just stupid, they're malicious. But the citizens who are not malicious, they just genuinely think banning guns will make a difference.
Yeah, because they think the government's here to help.
I don't understand them. I can't make my brain try to see from their eyes
It's mostly people.
how they think banning a gun will make a difference when
It's the people who have never really encountered any kind of situation like that.
they look at history and see prohibition. Did that work?
No, but they don't. They don't know history.
No, they don't.
Like that's the thing.
They don't.
Know history. They don't see history repeating itself because they don't know it.
Yeah, I just saw a post today that said we should make a governmental force.
I saw that.
An armed governmental force with emergency
secret
powers. A secret governmental force with emergency powers that has the capabilities to go execute unannounced raids.
Basically, no-knock warrants for
Unannounced
no-knock
raids
for,
on gun owners, because there's no place for gun owners in a modern society. And I was like, this person has voting rights. They have a sphere of influence around them that they communicate between their families and friends. This person exists, and they're not the only one. This wasn't just some one-off person. This is someone who literally wanted to make a new Gestapo to go kill gun owners. And in America, right? This is terrifying because who knows in 10, 15 years if that person gets into a governmental position, right? Yes, guns are political, right? I don't know if all of you have looked into Ruby Ridge and Waco. I know recently the ATF decided to share a memorial post for the ATF agents.
And there was the that movie or series on Netflix about
boy.
it. Yeah.
Didn't it get review bombed?
Oh yeah.
I hope it did.
Yeah.
It deserved to.
Yeah.
Was that on Ruby Ridge or was that on Waco? Because I didn't watch either.
I don't know if there's one. I know there's one on Waco.
They wanted
to it kept recommending it to us.
They wanted to, have a memorial for the ATF agents who were injured/killed in Waco. Let me tell you something. Screw those guys. Screw them. I mean, these are government officials executing brute force over citizens
and children
and women over guns. I mean, man,
and they call it a siege.
Yeah,
like it wasn't a massacre.
Yeah, it was 100% a massacre. No, which one? Waco or Ruby Ridge?
Both.
Yeah. So multiple times throughout history, guys, the American government has, and this is not like conspiracy theory stuff. This is stuff you can go look up online.
This actually happened.
Right now. It happened recently.
Yeah.
The last one was in the 90s, right?
Waco?
I think Waco was in the 90s.
Yeah, Waco was 93.
See? That's not that far off, guys. These things happened. Citizens were killed. And the government justified doing it over an infringement on, I think both of them were infringements on the NFA, right? NFA violations?
Yeah, they said an illegal weapons debt.
If you are caught with a, let's just get an example, an AR-15.
Let me see if I can find what exactly they had.
If you were caught with an AR-15, for example, just an example, with a stock on it and a 12-inch barrel, and you decide you're not going to just give it up because it's a stupid, ridiculous rule that has no founding in logic. It's just some morons pushing pins thinking they're making a difference. If you decide you're not going to hand it over, the government says it has the right to just come in there and kill you. And then, if you were to wound or injure one of their ATF agents, they're going to hold a memorial for them because they're more important than you. Which one are you going to talk about first? Ruby Ridge or Waco?
I had time to read up a little bit on Ruby Ridge more.
Okay. I'm going to give people a little rundown of the awful situation that was Ruby Ridge.
Yes. So it was in Idaho. A lot of these are
Midwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Midwest or just West. But let's see. Okay, yeah. So the guy had Randy Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
He had a warrant out for his arrest for failure to appear on firearms charges.
Did you get to find out what these firearms charges were for?
I did not.
Okay, so I actually know a little bit about this one.
I read up on the other ones a little bit more than I had time to on these because I had to go get food.
That's fine. No, I know this one. I know Randy Weaver's situation. He was accused of creating short-barreled shotguns and illegal weapons for a white supremacist group in the area. Now, I don't know if that's 100% true. The government loves to tell lies when they get caught doing awful crap. Okay? When the government gets caught with their pants down, they will lie to make anyone else come at fault. So I don't know if Randy Weaver was
It's hard to get the full truth.
creating short-barreled shotguns for a Aryan Brotherhood garbage group. If he was, it's bad doing business with any, racist group of like white supremacists. But that's not the point. They thought he was doing this. So they wrapped him up and said, look, you're going to come rat out on these white supremacists, according to them. And according to them, he said no. He would not be some snitch, I guess, which he has a right to do. He doesn't have to talk to the government about anybody. So you may continue. This is probably what that warrant was for.
Yeah. So, they went to his house, I think, just to collect him.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, they were doing surveillance.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They were doing surveillance on his property without telling him.
Obviously.
Let's
see. I read it a little bit earlier. His
son.
Yeah, his son, and I think either his two sons or his son and his friend were killed.
Yeah, they happened to they were walking with their dog.
Yeah, because the dog was barking.
The dog was barking at the ATF agents, and the ATF agents did what ATF agents do.
They shoot dogs.
They killed his dog, like they always do, and they returned fire because they had no idea it was a government agency surveilling them. Some people are just on their property and then shot their dog. So they returned fire. They killed
his son.
And his this is the son's.
Yeah.
Or son and friend. They returned fire, killed one of the ATF agents, and then his son was killed. Okay, so this creates this big standoff between Randy Weaver and the U.S. federal government.
Randy Weaver and his family.
And yeah, it was his family, and it was his entire family. And the ATF did not want to create a big PR issue, so they gave snipers. I'm not even going to call them snipers. I'm going to call them self-proclaimed snipers because of what comes next. They gave them orders to kill on sight. Basically, anyone that they saw that was a man was allowed to be killed because they believed every single person was armed, which was mostly true. But they gave them orders because I think the one that survived the initial ambush, the ATF agent that survived the initial firefight where they killed his son and they killed the other ATF agent.
Yeah.
He came back and told them that there were these guys that were just roaming the property with guns, firing willy-nilly.
Yeah.
He gave false information to the ATF and told them, oh my gosh, they're just savages. They're just savages who are going out there shooting everyone. And which is not true. They opened fire, killed a dog, et cetera, et cetera. So then either the FBI or the ATF, one of the two, tells their snipers to kill anyone because they think it's going to be this massive shootout, massacre, World War III. What ends up happening, Caroline?
They killed all of his family, including his wife that was holding their 10-month-old child.
Yes. And the reason I say he's a self-proclaimed sniper is because he was trying to shoot Randy, and Randy was walking to the front door of the cabin.
Yeah, he said he had his crosshairs on him, and he moved at the last second.
Yep.
And shot his wife.
Happened to hit his wife right in the head while she was carrying the 10-month-old child.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the ATF, you suck. FBI, you suck too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, they had military camouflage.
Yeah.
And night vision goggles.
Yeah.
And M16 rifles.
So, I believe this is the situation, or it's Waco. I could forget which one, to be honest with you. But no fault was found was found on the ATF's part or any government agency.
I believe it's this one. I think, from what I read about Waco, I think some people did get imprisoned.
The government just said it is completely justifiable to kill your family because you have an inch too short of a shotgun or rifle or whatever. It is worth killing you. In fact, it is American to go wrap you up. And this is not an extremist viewpoint, guys. Like,
no.
Think about some person who doesn't know the NFA to the T. Because guess what? The NFA is not easy to read, and it is not easy to understand for the average American who's not in the gun world. No. It is not even close.
That's why the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution and...
exactly how they did.
Yeah, they wrote it so it's easy to read.
Yep.
Like, it's not a bunch of legalese that nobody can understand.
Yep. And it is not easy to understand. So think about the random American who just happens to, he thinks, and let's say he's a machinist, right? So he knows how to machine barrels or metal, and he goes, oh man, this rifle will be so much more handy if I cut 3 or 4 inches off of it. Not knowing he just committed a felony.
Okay, so the situational reevaluation and the siege end. FBI HQ and the site commanders in Idaho reevaluated it based on the information that the marshals gave. So the FBI Deputy Assistant Director, Colson, he didn't know that the wife had been killed. He wrote a memo with the following content. Something to consider. 1. Charge against Weaver is BS. 2. No one saw Weaver do any shooting. 3. Vicky has no charges against her. And 4. Weaver's defense. This baby is pushing on my lungs.
She can't breathe, guys. Give her a break. She's doing her best.
He ran down the hill to see what his dog was barking at. Some guys in camis shot his dog, started shooting at him, killed his son. Harris did the shooting. He is pretty strong. He is in a pretty strong legal position. So they knew they messed up.
Yeah. So it must be Waco where they one of the cases got like a huge investigation and they got saved by the federal government and said they did nothing wrong. I think it's Waco. No. In fact, it is Waco because Barr.
Well, because in Waco let's see, I was looking at it earlier. So
I know Barr, Deputy Director Barr. Bill Barr. Is it Bill? No, it's not Bill Barr. I'm sorry. What's his name? The guy who worked for Trump for a while. Barr. What's his name? Oh my gosh. Is it William Barr? Yeah, William Barr. He got some of these guys off for the Waco case. Let's see if I can find and Waco. Yeah, back in 1995, Barr was involved with the hearings for both Waco and Ruby Ridge, and he actually defended them. Because establishment defends establishment.
Right.
And guess what? ATF, FBI, these are not elected officials, people.
Nope.
These are unelected officials that have a direct impact on your life, what you can own, what you can do with what you own, how much money you pay for stuff you already own. This is illegal. Every single gun law is an infringement. The definition, you know what? I'm going to look it up real quick. Shall not be infringed. Okay, infringe.
Just look up the word infringement.
The definition of infringe is actively break the terms of, not that one. So the other one, sorry, the second version or definition is act so as to limit or undermine or encroach on. Okay. Any gun that I cannot own is a limitation. That's an infringement. So every single gun law that has anything to do with what I can or cannot own is an infringement, therefore illegal. I don't know how the NFA has not been shot down by a Supreme Court yet. I don't know who. I don't know how.
Because they're getting paid off. That's why.
I don't get it though. Like
they don't have any morals.
I know for a fact that the ATF has taken people to court over braces, stocks, I mean NFA violations. Right. I know for a fact that there are ATF cases where they went to court over NFA violations and they lost. So they had said, "Oh, this guy's clearly breaking the NFA. He's got a short-barreled rifle, or he's got a stock on his pistol."
Yeah.
And the court was like, "Get out of here, dude. That's nonsense." Okay, if we can do that, why can't we get rid of the NFA?
Yeah.
If we can shoot it in
because
court,
it's too much work.
yes, the government
to get rid of an agency.
Yep. Not even just the agency, just the NFA, which is a set of laws.
Yeah.
Right, or regulations. I'm not really sure. I think it's policy technically, but I know National Firearms Act is a law. The government just makes it too hard. The government makes itself impossible to correct.
Yeah.
They want
so
it to
they
be
don't correct
so
themselves.
hard to work on. All right. So do you want to read a little bit about Waco, or do you want me to try to do it from memory? Because mine's a little squirrely on
You can try
Waco.
to do it from memory, and I'll kind of, because I've got it pulled up, but it's so much.
Yes. Okay. So.
And I kind of dropped the ball this week.
It's okay.
So.
No, it's okay. I'm going to do my best to make it a little quick. Waco. I don't know the guy's name. The guy who started Waco. The cult leader. I forget his name.
It was a weird name.
Waco, there was this big cult that lived there.
David Koresh?
Koresh. Okay, Koresh. So Koresh started this cult. The entire area was part of this religious cult. There was a lot of weird things going on.
It's a cult.
Definitely things I don't agree with as a Christian. I don't believe in child brides like in a modern society. I don't think that's right. I know this guy was practicing polygamy as well. Things I disagree with. However, none of the things he was doing with those marriages were illegal in Texas at the time. All of his wedding, marrying, I think 15-year-olds, which once again, I disagree with 100%.
Yeah.
I think technically they were legal at the time in Texas where he lived. Okay.
So I think the parents had to sign off saying it was okay.
Yes.
And, the parents are also in the cult.
Yes. So this area is infested. I say infested, and I don't mean that entirely derogatory because some people just get tricked. I understand. People fall for things. But there's a cult happening. Multiple people in the community, not just this compound, were involved in this cult. And they believed they were stockpiling a large cache of illegal weapons. I don't know what their definition is illegal for. It could just be they thought they had a lot of automatic weapons. It could be short-barreled rifles. It could be any number of bull crap restrictions on firearms because, once again, every single gun law is an infringement. So whatever.
Let's
but
see what
they wanted to go in there. If you can find that. They wanted to do a siege. They wanted to get. They said they wanted to get the cult members out of there and just get Koresh.
So allegedly,
the
initial investigation began June 1992 when a postal worker informed a sheriff of McLennan County that he believed he had been delivering explosives to the ammo and gun store owned and operated by the Branch Davidians.
That's what it was. The Branch Davidians was the cult. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
The store named the Mag Bag had been identified by the said postal worker as suspicious in deliveries.
Okay.
So that was.
So once again, no proof yet.
Yeah.
Just suspicious. Okay. They wanted to go check this place out. So they basically made a siege. Now, before they did that, they wanted to get the news station there first. This is how stupid the government is.
Okay. So, sorry.
Go ahead.
The sheriff was notified in May and June. 2 cases of inert grenades, black gunpowder, 90 pounds of powdered aluminum metal, and 30 to 40 cardboard tubes. So it said the sheriff noticed another shipment of 60 AR-15/M16 mags, to which he made the statement, "I have been involved in many cases where defendants, following a relatively simple process, convert AR-15 semi-automatic rifles into fully automatic rifles of the nature of the M16. to justify the ATF's involvement in the case.
Okay.
That's
So,
the quote that
do
the
not
ATF
get me wrong.
used.
That list of ingredients does sound like bad things. But you have to have proof. And what comes next is not justified. Okay.
Yeah.
The rest of the story is not justified. Like I said, they may be doing wrong things. I don't agree with their cult to begin with. But the government wanted a public stunt of their power and capabilities in handling bad situations. So they invited the news out to the freaking
It's a 51-day siege, I believe.
Branch Davidians compound. Okay. Now, the news van or whatever vehicle they were in gets lost on the way and asks, I think, a vehicle or a postal worker how to find the address. Okay. This guy was a Branch Davidian. He was like, why is the news station asking for where my compound is?
Yeah.
So he goes and warns the compound. They set up defenses. They're armed, etc. I'm guessing it's once again ATF and FBI involved, both of them.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so they set up a siege, 51-day siege?
Yeah.
Okay, so they actually tortured these guys. They tortured the cult, the families, the compound. They played extremely loud music, so loud no one could sleep. They did all kinds of, they flashed lights. What else did they do? They did all kinds of stuff. Just literally, this is actually things that not only the United Nations and NATO and other places, these are things that are defined as torture, and the U.S. government was doing it to U.S. citizens out in broad daylight, and like this was happening. These are war crimes technically, and the U.S. gets away with it because government here loves me and wants to save me.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
This isn't funny, but it is.
Is it?
So, other reports claim the first shots were fired by the ATF dog team, sent to kill the dogs at the Branch Davidian kennel.
I hate the ATF so much.
Yeah.
I hate the ATF so much. The ATF genuinely loves killing dogs. Like, it's a joke at this point. Like, it's memes. But I cannot tell you how many cases the ATF just goes up and kills dogs. Like, it's the first thing they do. If they're going to run a warrant,
and it's so dumb because, like, you're coming to somebody's property unannounced, aggressively. Yes. Why would the dog not be aggressive?
The dog's doing its job, and it's doing what it's supposed to do, and you are infringing on somebody else's right, no matter what you do. I don't care if you're serving a justified warrant.
Yeah.
Killing the dog is not necessary.
You're on somebody else's
property. That is that dog's home, and you are killing the dog. Dude, ATF can suck it. I'm sorry. They can suck it. They can suck it. So they torture the Branch Davidians for a while, and then they want to get in there and get out because they think it's been going on too long, and they're not, they need to show force and be strong and have the news show this. So they toss a ton of tear gas into the building.
It was different kinds too.
Almost all of which were flammable, and they knew it was flammable because of previous tests. So they threw flammable tear gas into this building with families, women and children, lots of children actually, are in this building, and a fire starts.
3 fires start.
3 fires start.
In 3 different areas of the compound.
Okay, so fires start, and I don't know if there's a quote, but I know for a fact that either the FBI or ATF people that were involved with that decision said, okay, well, at least they'll come out faster now. Not go rescue them. Not get fire trucks there. No. At least they'll come out now. They have no choice but to come out.
Yeah.
So how many people died?
72.
70. How many? Is it all Branch Davidians? How many?
No, like just the people in the. Or well, yeah, is the Branch Davidians, but it
72.
was. Oh no, I'm sorry, 76.
76.
76, and it was 25 children.
Yep.
2 pregnant women.
And no one went to jail over it.
Nope.
No ATF agent, no FBI agent, no government official. Because that's corruption, guys. That's the definition of corruption. So you want to tell me that guns aren't political, but if you have the wrong gun, we're going to come kill your family.
Yeah. And, I was trying to find it. I found it earlier, but the...
In your community.
Yeah.
76 of you. It's infuriating.
It is. No, so the women and children that were in there, that were in some of the places where, like, the building just collapsed.
Mm-hmm. Well,
their autopsies.
Had, like, hidden areas. They had they were hiding.
Yeah.
And they were hiding in, like, not bunkers, but like
it was like a panic room.
Yeah, panic room, kind of underground things they were hiding in,
so
and they had no way to get out.
Their autopsies were obviously, they died, most of them from skull impact from it falling down. but also from cyanide poisoning.
From the
gas.
The gas, yeah.
Because they use different, they use like 3 or 4 different types of gases.
And you know what's crazy about these gases? Some gases are so strong that if they're in a small quarter, they actually push away oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So not only are you choking on this gas, you literally aren't getting oxygen and you will suffocate. I think Tim Pool brought it up one time where a protest was happening in another country and they tossed so much tear gas in this parking garage. Mm-hmm. It was a parking garage and the ceilings are pretty high. Tons of bodies in there.
Yeah.
Because there was no oxygen in the parking garage anymore.
Yeah. So they also testified that the doors,
mm-hmm.
like on the inside, because, they were like, oh, they're shooting back at us. The doors.
Oh, no, how dare them.
Only had bullet holes, like, from the outside of the door.
Yep.
That was it.
I believe it. Guys, the government does not care about you. The government cares about control.
Yeah.
And I know it's so weird. Like, this is not like the specific talking point I wanted to take on my podcast, our podcast. But because it sounds like, this is the same talking points, like the government doesn't care about you. It's the same kind of talking point conspiracy theorists talk about. But this isn't conspiracy.
No,
this is something you can
this
go
is something
look
that
up.
Happened.
You can go read up on it. And they have the audacity after killing 76 people, how many of which were innocent?
At least 25. There's 25 kids
25 children that died. Okay, so they deserve to die because of some cult leader?
Yeah.
Like, even if he's completely wrong, which, that's possible, you justify killing. Like, no one went to jail over this. So they had the audacity to put out a memorial thing. We remember the brave ATF agents who were just serving a warrant.
No. That was a 50-day siege. They weren't just serving
This must be about Ruby Ridge then. One of the posts was about just serving a warrant.
No, I'm sure it was Waco because it was after they put out the thing on Netflix and everybody was pissed about it.
It was on the anniversary. They do it every year.
Oh, of Ruby Ridge? Or Waco? Because I know soon after the Waco thing on Netflix, because they had like the ATF and FBI agents like crying over the children and stuff that died.
Yeah.
When in reality they were taking pictures.
The ATF's own website. This is their website. It says investigation centered on Koresh and the Davidians being involved in the illegal manufacture and possession of machine guns. They said they acquired 136 firearms, including assault rifles and handguns. Okay, but how many of those are illegal?
Exactly.
Right? 700 plus magazines, not illegal.
Nope.
200,000 rounds of ammunition, not illegal. 110 upper and lower receivers for AR-15/M16 rifles, not illegal. Unless they're actual M16 rifles. Grenade launcher attachments for AR-15/M16. I would need to see which grenade launchers. And if they're just, it says grenade launcher attachments. That might even mean not the actual grenade launcher.
Yeah.
Okay. 400 plus empty M31 rifle grenades, along with black powder and other. Okay, well that one's definitely making explosives. But the first bunch of things was.
They're making explosives, but like you got to kill 25 kids for that?
Nope, not at all. Let's see. What did their tweet say? Their tweet said. Let's see. Oh, is their tweet not? Do they hide it?
Probably.
You losers, you cowards. On this day 26 years ago, let's see. On this day 26 years ago, 4 ATF agents were killed in line of duty in a mission outside of Waco, Texas. We honor all the special agents present on that day who persisted in the face of danger. Their bravery and brotherhood continues to unite our organization. What a freaking joke. You are honoring murderers and people who took pictures smiling on burning people's corpses.
Yeah.
This is our government, guys.
Yep.
And you guys are just okay with it. Like, not you guys, but like people just go every day and don't care. They do not care about this stuff. And it's also because like this complacency bias, like, oh, it happened like 26 years ago.
They also try to say that the Branch Davidians like started the fires.
Yeah, they accuse of David Koresh. But where's the proof of that?
Yeah.
The government can say whatever they want when there's no witnesses. You killed the witnesses. You killed all of them.
Yeah. One of them said that he saw some Branch Davidians moving about a dozen gallons of fuel.
It's convenient.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't know what happened that day because I wasn't there. But neither are any of the other Branch Davidians who were actually involved in that fire.
Some of them survived.
That's good.
I don't know if they were there, but
I know.
they got arrested.
I know Branch Davidian survived. I
Yeah.
just don't know if there's any witnesses to what actually happened, who actually started the fire. I mean, once again,
He allegedly committed suicide.
guns aren't political, guys. That's what people say. Or if you don't think guns are political, what is this? This is not some just one-off extremist group. Okay, Ruby Ridge was not an extremist group. Waco, don't get me wrong, I could see you saying that, the Branch Davidians were extremists. I could see that.
Yeah.
25 kids didn't need to die. And how many women? They didn't need to die. Guns are political, and in fact, they are willing to kill you over an inch of barrel length. Okay? I want to stop here for a second and bring up a positive note. Something you can use as a positive political statement with firearms. Guys, we're all over the place a little bit right now. We didn't write the best script today. We're kind of free-flowing this, and very busy week. Pretty fun week, though. But anyways, positive note on firearms politically. The CDC, some other government organization, estimates that between 2.5 million and 3 million crimes are stopped or prevented every year by firearms.
How is that the CDC's job?
I have no idea. Center of Disease Control has statistics on this, but they're apparently the most accurate to date. Over 400,000 life-threatening crimes specifically are stopped or prevented by firearms every year.
Because, a lot of tweaked out crackheads don't want to get shot.
Yeah. So think about the fact that, and there are more crimes prevented with firearms every year than committed with firearms.
Mm-hmm. And that's just the ones that are reported.
It's pretty cut and dry to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times has somebody come up to mug somebody else and they pulled out a gun and they just ran away?
Yeah. No,
and
exactly.
you just put it back and go
about your business. Yeah. How many cities are blue, let's say, and have the worst gun laws in the country? Worst gun laws meaning from the pro-gun side, they're stricter, right? The most strict gun laws in the country have some of the worst gun crime.
And even if it's not gun crime,
that's some of the worst crime in general.
Just violent crime.
Yeah, but some of their gun crime is the worst, and they always do the same thing. Let's say it's only happening because they're getting guns out of the city. No, you dummy! If the entire country put your laws in right now, nothing would change.
And they can't
except law-abiding citizens would stop owning guns.
And if they're from
not all of them
that state, they can't buy guns that are illegal in their state
That's
from
true.
other states.
Yeah, if you're from New York City, or no, let's just say you're from California.
No, because it was.
No, let's put it this way: if you're from California and you live in California, and you come out of state to buy a gun,
you're a resident in California.
You're a resident in California. You come out of state to buy a gun. We couldn't sell you any gun that is illegal for you to have in California because your driver's license still says California, and if it's a handgun, it's got to be shipped to the state.
Right.
It's got to be shipped to an FFL in the state for you to pick up. Well, so many handguns are not legal. It's very complicated to do this. They think that making it illegal makes the crime stop happening. And I don't understand this. They're saying let's just say
That's in Australia and I think England. When they got rid of guns, their violent crime actually went up.
Yeah, I think both of them have actually had. I think Australia is a little weird because of where they are.
Some people in Australia can have guns, but if they're out in the bush, but cities, no.
I don't know about Australia's statistics, but I do know in the UK their gun crime or their violent crime has gone up since guns being banned, and then their answer to that was banning knives because logic, right?
No, they've literally posted on some of their police Facebook pages and stuff. Kitchen knives and just regular scissors.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh man, look at this. What do they call it? When you confiscate these confiscations of deadly weapons. It's a scissor.
Yeah, that's a butter knife, sir.
I'm not gonna say it's scissors, but I said and I was like, I'm too far, and I gotta say scissor. It's a Caesar. It's scissors.
Yeah, look at this contraband we have.
This is the state
that's kitchenware.
Meanwhile, acid attacks are happening in the UK because
How do you I just.
It's not about logic. It's not about logic anymore. When it comes to the government, it's no longer about logic.
But
it's about
acid
control.
attacks happen so often. Do they just sell it at the drugstore?
No, technically you can get it at the you can get all kinds of different acids.
Oh, but they've got
some of which you can get at Lowe's.
A lot. I mean, yeah, they'd have to get it from a hardware store, but no, I know, but it happens so much.
Yeah.
You'd think that they would go after acid before they went after knives.
Well, when you're stupid.
That's true.
And you want control, you make a lot of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The U.S. government has really, really tried to work against guns. And one of the most recent, I would say, tests, I'm not going to say it's a failure. A lot of gun owners think this was a failure on the government's part. And I think it was a test when the ATF put the letter out about pistol braces. Mm-hmm. They were going to ban a vast majority of pistol braces from being on AR pistols. It's so complicated. God, that letter was such nonsense. But basically, they were going to turn millions of Americans into felons overnight. And when they do this letter is this thing like, telling the public, this is what we're thinking about doing. Give us your opinions. They never care about your opinions.
No.
But everyone, all the big influencers were pushing, hey, go comment and tell them why this is bad. Tell them, in a logical, calm way, because if you get aggressive, they're just going to delete your comment, which is true. Mm-hmm. Why they're wrong and why they shouldn't do this. Well, tens and tens of thousands of people commented. I'm hoping hundreds. I never saw the final number. I'm really hoping it went over 100,000. But so they pulled back the letter after all the comments and said, well, we were just trying to give you the clarification that you were looking for because you guys tell us you can't figure out, what you guys were asking us for clarification on what consists of a pistol brace and a legal pistol. It was nonsense.
Their rules are nonsense.
Their rules are absolute nonsense. Yeah. And then they get people for trying to follow them to the T. Well, you're following the letter of the law too closely. Mm-hmm. Like they try to get Q, the honey badger, taken away because they were saying you're selling a short-barreled rifle as a AR pistol. And he's like, no, this is an AR pistol. And they said, well, we measured it, and it's an inch.
They measured it wrong.
Yeah, they measured it wrong. Said it's an inch too long, and then he showed it to me and said, nope, it's actually a quarter of an inch shorter than your requirement. And they were still upset that it was only a quarter of an inch away from it. If he wanted to have it 1,000th away from your legal requirement, he's still under the legal requirement. Yeah. I cannot stand that. Well, you're really pushing it. Should you be doing that?
They measured it wrong on purpose.
Yes.
To try to get him on it.
The ATF is actively trying to find a way to attack the Second Amendment community. And the gun owners think they won by getting the pistol brace thing thrown out. That's not what happened. They were testing to see how much kickback they would get. I do not think they got enough kickback.
Oh, they tabled it for sure.
Let me rephrase this. I don't think they got the kickback they thought they were going to get. No. I think they got less kickback than they should have.
Yeah.
They tabled
it. They tabled it.
They're holding that for another time. Yeah. They're waiting until they can get executive branch support on that one, which is probably now, right? They did not get any. They should have had millions of comments, and they did not. Because the issue is these gun owners, they're lazy. They don't. Like, I don't care about pistol braces. Okay, well, the next thing. What if the next thing they come after is something you do care about? Yeah. Well, it's too late. Like, no one stood up for bump stocks. No. Right? So bump stocks got taken away. And everyone's like, well, I don't care about bump stocks. I don't either. But I care that you have a right to own them.
You can do the same thing with just belt loop.
Yeah. But, like, I wouldn't own a bump stock because I don't need one or care for one. No, but I would still fight for your right to own the bump stock, just like I would fight for your right to own a full automatic gun. Right. Like, if I want to own an MG42, I should be legally allowed to own an MG42. Shall not be infringed. Says shall not be infringed. It's being infringed on right now. Caroline, would you like to change the topic to something a little more your speed?
Sure.
I'm getting a little heated over here. I'm getting a little upset. Well, I'm about to start yelling.
Be ready to get more heated.
Oh yay.
So to preface this, just because it kind of brings it together a little bit more, the Sagebrush Rebellion, and I'm sure a lot of people our age probably haven't heard of it.
I hadn't heard of it until...
Because I hadn't until I looked it up. Because it was in the 70s and the 80s, which I was not alive for. Yes. So it was this group of people, mainly in the West.
The West as in...
Kind of like Western United States.
So West Coast-ish.
Ish. Everything was pretty landlocked when they were at. Okay. But I believe they started in Nevada, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure. But their big thing was the fact that the federal government owned and controlled so much land from these states. So between 13 states, in the West. Oh, I can't breathe.
Breathe, woman. Push the baby away from your lungs.
Between 13 states, the federal land had between 20 and 85% of that state's area.
Wait, did you say between 20 and 85%?
Yeah.
That's a 65% margin.
You've got 13 states.
Okay.
So, like, some states, they own 20. Some states, they own 85, and just in between.
It's just a big range.
It's a lot of states.
All right, so 13 states. 13 states, the federal government, you said federal land. The federal government owned between 20% and 85% of that state's land.
Yeah.
Okay, noted.
So, like, the public land.
Yep.
The federal government owned.
Yep.
Instead of the state.
Yep.
So, like, I understand, national parks or, like, federal things that are happening on that land. I understand the federal government owning that.
I don't think
Public land? That's a state thing. Because, like, if the parks are funded by the federal government, why would the federal government not own them?
I think the federal government should only own D.C. Everything else should be
I
left to
think the
states.
federal government should own nothing, but...
Well, I mean, it's not possible to have a Capitol building then.
Do we need one?
I'm not an anarchist. I do want much smaller federal government.
Yeah.
I want it to pretty much just run the military, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's your job. Run the military. Make sure it works. Make sure... But see, I want all the states to have a say in where it goes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I want states' rights. I want limited government. But continue on your thing.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, that's basically what they were saying, is
Yep.
the federal government needs to get their greedy little hands out of literally everything.
My pockets are too shallow to fit your greedy, fat hands, government.
Exactly. So, like the states were called states for a reason. They're supposed to be self-governing.
Yep. Sovereign.
But, whatever. So they actually coined the Sagebrush Rebellion term because it was a sagebrush something. I don't remember exactly what it was. But they coined it over the fights of the designation of the National Wilderness Lands.
Mm-hmm.
So the U.S. Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management required surveys and removed roads for at least 5,000 acres of public land.
That's all. A small parcel.
So it was after 1979, and they called it RARE, later to be Rare 1 because they did it again. But Roadless Area Review and Evaluation. So...
Sounds like eminent domain to me.
Yeah, so they changed it because it was nullified. Because there was no... uniform process of procedural problems or the evaluations themselves. Like, they were just kind of doing whatever.
Yep.
So, when did they bring it?
You'll get there.
I'll get there. No, I wrote it wrong because I can't read.
Big dumb. Big pregnancy dumb.
Yeah. Anyway, a few years later, they brought it back as Rare 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Much different.
this time they used over 60 million acres.
I hate the feds.
Yeah. And it was completed in 1969, but kind of took a back seat during the Reagan administration because he was sympathetic to the Sagebrush Rebellion.
One of the few things Reagan got right. Yes, you heard me right, conservatives. Reagan is not the angel you think he is. Look up his super anti-gun nonsense.
So.
There's one hair that's just right in my way. Continue, please.
But yeah, so he kind of tabled it, kind of pushed it aside because he was sympathetic to this cause. Like, I mean, when he was running, that was one of the things that he mentioned out.
As they do.
Yeah. I think it was during one of his,
Breathe.
Oh, I'm trying. During one of his, Salt Lake City speeches or something.
Ooh, we're actually up to an hour.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll wrap this one up, and then we'll talk about, we'll go over, a brief thing of the next one.
Okay,
We'll end it.
yeah.
I didn't realize we were an hour in.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm almost done with this one.
Okay.
But this is just kind of prefacing the next one.
Yep.
So, the federal government owning and maintaining this public land in these states is just an issue with the people who live there.
As it should be.
Yeah, because, I mean, with any kind of group of people. So, you've got, conservation advocates that want to do stuff to conserve.
Yes.
They're having to jump through all these hoops, get through all this red tape.
Is this where grazing comes in?
Yes.
Mm.
So, campers and hikers, kind of the same thing.
Yep.
Got people who do like off-road vehicles and like miners, researchers. Because researchers, like, they'll get the permits.
Mm-hmm.
She's
doing her best.
I
guys.
really am, you guys.
If you're listening and you're like, man, this woman will not stop breathing.
I'm 8 months pregnant and I have
heavily,
no lungs anymore.
She is so pregnant that it's actually really funny.
My lungs are just the size of thimbles at this point.
If you want to see how pregnant she is, please come to the YouTube channel, guys. If you're on the podcast sites and you want to see how massively pregnant her belly is, come to the YouTube channel and you can see it on video.
Of my body.
TBRI Gunworks on YouTube and you can find her belly. Look at it. It's huge. It's like a 45-pound bowling ball.
It's almost like there's another human in there.
Almost. That's political.
But like these researchers who are doing research.
Yes.
Like they're not doing anything crazy or weird or recreational. They're literally doing research. They have to get a permit to get to these portions of land. And then after they get that permit, it's just red tape after idiot who doesn't know what he's doing with the federal government. Like,
as the government do.
And then it goes into livestock and grazing. Because they're paying the government to feed their cows. And the government's not maintaining this land.
No.
They just own it.
Yes.
They say they're maintaining it.
Yes.
But they're not.
Sounds really familiar, Caroline. Doesn't it sound like right there?
Oh, no. That's a grocery store that owns that.
But are they maintaining it?
No.
No. But I can't go on there.
All right. So the next one is the United States versus Bundy.
Bundy.
Not Ted Bundy.
Bundy Ranch. Bundy Ranch standoff, guys. Okay.
So most people will probably remember this because this happened in 2014.
Yep. I wanted to go help him.
I remember.
But I was on duty in the Army.
Because, it wasn't too far. Because they were in Nevada.
No, it wasn't. I forgot about that. Oh, my gosh. We were so close.
They're in Nevada.
Guys, we were in the Mojave Desert. We were so close.
They were in southern Nevada, so, it would have been a drive.
It's been 4 hours. It would have been 4 hours. I bet you money.
Maybe.
I'm going to look it up. You keep talking.
But anyway. It was a standoff that, peaked in 2014. Between Cliven?
I don't know how to say his name.
This screen is so messed up. Yeah, Cliven Bundy and law enforcement following a 21-year legal dispute because of the federal government just being themselves. So at the end of this, he ended up owing over $1 million in fees and, grazing taxes and just nonsense. So he was feeding his cows on the land that his family had owned for decades. And then the federal government decided, hey, we've got these turtles that need some land. So they just took land from how long of a drive was it?
Keep going, listen.
So they took land from, they bought it from, people all around. And he said no. What was the drive?
3 hours, 44 minutes. What's up?
So he said no. He didn't want to sell his land. And they didn't like that answer. So they just made it harder for him. So he did not renew his grazing permit.
Yep.
They didn't like that either.
This is going to loop around to guns here in a second, guys. Give it some time.
So, he had legally been paying his fees for years and years.
Yep.
In 93, he stopped because he did not recognize the Bureau of Land Management anymore.
Yep. Yeah. Screw you, BLM.
So
taxation is theft.
Yeah, because he said that he doesn't recognize the federal police power over land that belongs to the state.
Yep.
So they came to take his cows.
Yep.
So they rounded up his cows.
Think about how little sense that makes. Your cows are on our land that you're not paying to use anymore. So instead of remove your cows. We're going to take your cows.
Mm-hmm.
The cows aren't the. I
The cows aren't the issue. The cows don't know what they're doing.
The government so much, but we need to wrap this up.
Yeah. So they took his cows.
Yep.
And let's see, was it 3 different militia groups?
Yep.
And just random people came, and there was a standoff for I think a few days.
Oh yeah, it was huge.
It's like a week or 2, I think.
Yeah. So actually, I'll look it up real quick. I'll look up the standoff real quick.
Yeah. So the eventually they said to back off, and as far as I know, he hasn't paid his fees.
Dude, good for him.
I mean, he may have, but you know, he fought the government for a long time about this, and he just kept losing because it's the government.
All I can find is the 20-year legal dispute. I can't find the actual standoff. It was the 2014 standoff, right?
Yeah.
But like, so here's the reason why I think this is this relates to politics and guns. Okay, so we had a bunch of armed militias that came to help them because these are Americans who believe that this guy was being taken advantage of by the U.S. federal government. Mm-hmm. So they came to protect him with firearms, and the government said, "We're going to kill you too." And the government, see, guys, this is 2014. The government saw its big screw ups with Ruby Ridge and Waco, and they said, "Do we want another Waco?" They weren't sure.
Their answer was yes.
Their answer was, "We're not sure," because they held the standoff there for a while. I think the only reason they didn't engage is because I do not think they had enough people. They would have had to call in like National Guard to actually win that fight. And they knew it was going to be a PR nightmare, especially 2014. Internet's so common; it's so easy to find real information now. And then the news went haywire that this was just some they call
right-wing
militias and white extremists.
Yeah.
It was always white extremists.
Yeah.
And dude, shut your stupid face.
I mean, he said some pretty racist stuff.
Don't
but
get
like,
me wrong. I think Bundy himself was a
pretty
racist.
racist.
Yeah.
But that's not what this issue was.
But it wasn't about that.
No,
yeah.
this issue was about his land.
Yes.
And the government.
You know what sucks? It's like all three of the cases we talked about today.
Yeah.
Like I have hardcore disagreements.
Yeah.
With the people that are like the victims.
But legally,
the Branch Davidians. I'm not for their cult.
Yeah.
Legally or humanely, they shouldn't have been attacked the way they were. And then the first one, Ruby Ridge. Okay, I don't know what he was doing. If he was working with some white supremacists, I'm against that. But did his wife deserve to die? You know,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And then same
and like
thing.
with this one, legally, he was in the wrong.
Yes.
But
I disagree with the government.
I disagree with the government.
I also disagree with him if he was saying racist things.
Yeah.
But like, it's not about that one person. It's about the principle of the thing.
Yeah.
And it is every time you give the government more room to intrude in your life and your way of way of living. But as soon as they intrude and encroach into every little aspect of your life, as they already do, but even more so day to day, and event to event, I think if they hadn't stood up for them, I think it would have gotten a lot worse.
Yeah.
There was also another standoff. I forget. I'm not going to go into it, but they basically took over the BLM land. Was that somewhere else?
2016 in Harney County, Oregon.
Yes.
Occupation of the Mailer National Wildlife Refuge.
Yes. Guys, like,
Refuge.
I am standing for these dudes finally standing up to the government.
Yeah.
Okay?
Because
the
I
government
mean,
just encroaches on our everyday lives.
They really do.
You think the government's supposed to be in your life every day? No, it's
No.
supposed to do very minimal things. It's supposed to give you infrastructure and then protection, and that's literally it.
And you
it's
give
not
them,
supposed to pay your bills. It's not supposed to be your nanny.
No.
It's not supposed to be your retirement plan. It's supposed to be your infrastructure and your protection, and that's it. That's it. That's all of it.
Yeah, because I mean, like in anything they say, like going back to what you said about them making it to where they can't correct themselves.
Yep.
Like with all this, nonsense rules that they're putting. I mean, a lot of states are fighting it, but all these nonsensical rules they're putting in, saying they're temporary. You know what else was supposed to be temporary? Income tax.
Yes. Income tax was supposed to be temporary, and here we are still paying it, state and federal. Guys, the government does not give up power.
Nope.
It doesn't give it up. It takes it, tells you it's going to give it up, and then never gives it up. It's guys.
You remember that Office episode?
Guys, it's not just the Office episode. It's Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars.
I was going to call it Dwight Schrute, but
government.
Okay. Yeah.
I will give up these emergency powers when the war is over or when the emergency is
Mhm.
over. Okay. And then
They're
the
gonna keep
emergency is
finding
over and they
emergencies.
never give it back
Yeah.
up. Guys, the 2 weeks to slow the spread.
It's
That
been
was
over
a year
year.
ago.
Yeah.
And now they're saying 2 masks. Okay, they don't give power up. They don't give control up. So,
No.
guys, do what you can to fight and be active in your political sphere. And I'm saying fight in a metaphorical way because YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be careful what we say, but I be aware of what's going on in your environment. Be aware of what's going on in your state, your region, whatever you got to do to try to stop and prevent any more encroachments on your freedoms. And then what you should be doing after that is fighting to remove existing encroachments because it's a tooth and nail fight. It never ends, but you got to do what you can.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I'm sorry this episode has been long. This episode has been aggressive. I've been angry, not maximum anger. I've tried to hold it back for your ears and the
We
microphone.
both have been.
But guys, guns are political. You're taking a stance by owning, talking, or working on, for, or with guns. Okay? That's okay. It's okay to take a stance. You don't have to be this middle of the road guy that seems to be the new popular fad.
Yeah.
Not taking a stand. No, that's cowardice. Take a
Yeah,
stand on what you believe in.
Yeah. Stand by what you
Okay.
believe in.
That's all I got for you guys. All gun laws are an infringement. Please be safe. Take care. Follow us on the social medias. Follow us on the podcast sites. Follow us on Instagram, on YouTube. Subscribe, like, please, comment. All the fun stuff. We appreciate you. Next episode won't be so angry and will be a little more structured. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And take